Inventory is critical to the business. We can't brew, we can't feed without inventory. So we have to have it. We just need to manage it. Profit players, where you at? Back to basics. SBS, your financials mean nothing. Just kidding. Your financials are going to mean something after this series. Like I said last week, overwhelming response. You're digging it. I'm digging it. We're all working toward more profit. And this is just going to keep going on and on and on. And I love it. So where are we today? Today we're talking about inventory. You know why I love inventory? I love inventory because we outlay all this cash, tons of cash for raw materials, packaging, merchandise, food, and we get paid for it later, sometimes 60 to 90 days later. What's not to love about that? All jokes aside, look, inventory is critical to the business. We can't brew, we can't feed without inventory. So we have to have it. We just need to manage it. How do we manage it? I think you know where I'm going to go with this. Inventory management software. A lot of you are doing it on spreadsheets. I don't know how you're doing it on spreadsheets. Inventory management software, as in Ecos, as in Beer 30, those two products do really, really well to manage your inventory. They actually do a ton more than just managing the inventory. But for the purposes of today's video, we're simply looking at managing the inventory. A question I get all the time: Chris, how much raw materials and packaging should I keep on hand at all times? My magic answer is 3 weeks of brews, okay? 3 weeks of brews is what you should have on hand. Anything more than 3 weeks, and we're experiencing what I call trapped liquidity. Trapped liquidity is where our cash is up on the shelf and we're just not able to get a benefit out of it. So what does that look like for you? That looks like really managing the brew process. That means understanding your brew schedule and sitting down with your team to say, what raw materials do we need in order to make it through the next 3 weeks? You may be asking, what about quantity discounts? What about ordering in bulk? Look, if you're large enough to benefit from quantity discounts or bulk, go for it. I think the majority of you probably are not. Your raw materials vendor won't tell you that. They'll tell you this is what you need to get to the next quantity discount, but they also aren't watching your cash balance. So it is a game of understanding your production schedule, your brew schedule, and making sure that you're in good communication with your production team. Today, there's no fancy spreadsheets, there's no downloads, but I do have a back of the napkin exercise that I'd like you to do, okay? I want you to walk around your storage area, whether that's in the cooler, whether that's on the shelves, and I want you to look at all the inventory and I want you to assign a value of 100 to each item that you have. So a box of hops, 100, a bag of grains, 100, an adjunct, 100. I understand that each of these are not costing you $100, but for the purposes of this exercise, I'm baking in opportunity costs, I'm baking in labor, I'm baking in storage, I'm baking in square footage to come up with this 100 factor. Okay, it's not even $100, it's a 100 factor. So count the items that you have, open, half used, unused, and then multiply that by 100. Something tells me that amount is going to be large. From there, what I want you to do is I want you to sit down with your team and say, what are we using in the next 3 weeks? What are we not using? What are we never using? And at that point, I want you to get rid of the inventory, okay? Ideally, I'd like you to sell it, try to sell it. If not, just remove it so you're working with a blank slate on inventory to begin managing this 3-week cycle. As always, drop me an email if you have questions on this topic, and I'll see you next week, Profit Players.